are amazing machines that transcend their basic transportation origins. Each is a relentless high-performance pursuit, and the science required to go even faster never stops and never sleeps.
How fast is too fast? There will always be a push to innovate and to keep moving forward.
The knowledge behind these amazing machines is an ever-expanding field full of imagination, where risk is rewarded and big dreamers often step out with bold ideas.
People that don't like cars love supercars. When you see one on the road, you can't help but point and look and stare at it.
No one knows which tech will triumph next, who will produce it, or what the next game changer might be.
Then they drive like a bat out of hell, which is the allure of the supercar, right? It is just this utterly extraordinary thing that leaves you absolutely speechless, but then at the same time, it's like a rocket ship. It's crazy.
This is the story of mankind's relentless pursuit for speed, the remarkable machines that brave the way, and the amazing evolution of supercar tech. Since the birth of the automotive age in 1886, when German inventor Karl Benz bolts a small combustion engine onto a three-wheeled wagon, the pursuit to build a better automobile fuels the imagination of engineers and designers around the globe. In the 20th century, that vision fuels engineering pioneers to push the envelope of speed and handling even further, and results in the creation of some truly remarkable driving machines. However, at the dawn of the new millennium, the evolution of the supercar gives rise to a new category of machines, vehicles that early automotive forefathers could never have imagined.
A hypercar is take everything you know about a supercar and push the absolute limits of design and aerodynamics and power and capability and price and exclusivity. You turn everything up to 11.
Calling a car with a quadruple-digit power output by the same name as the supercars that preceded it doesn't do the machines or their incredible performance justice. By the early 2000s, a new term is needed to describe the absolute apex of the automotive world.
And the hypercars are like $1 million, $2 million. They're all just special.
For over a century, the notion of a 1,000 horsepower car is only possible in the realm of comic books or science fiction fantasy. Yet by the 2000s, it's now a technical challenge on the cusp of being cracked.
What we knew as the supercar with things like the F40, there really became this like next step up. And it's like, well, do you call it like a super duper car? Or do you call it like a extra super, like what do you call it? And so hypercar kind of became this term.
The term hypercar is coined to qualify the absolute top 1% of all supercars. While all hypercars are supercars, not all supercars are hypercars. It's a subtle distinction that delineates machines with over 1,000 horsepower, first-class new age tech, million-dollar price tags, stunning design, and ultra-extreme performance. Almost every aspect of these cars advance the auto industry, and not a single compromise can be made.
As technology progresses, cars become more and more and more capable. Hypercars become more capable in terms of their speed, their braking, their handling, the lap times they can achieve, and ever continuing march upward. Where's the limit? We don't know.
There is going to be that point where you simply can't go any faster. And it's really interesting to kind of be on that ride to see where that takes us.
The dawn of the new millennium sees Freakonomics hit the high-end automotive industry when Bugatti debuts the ultimate feat of engineering. And a machine that alters the car industry forever, the Veyron.
The Veyron is a huge tentpole, is a huge, huge step forward.
When the Veyron drops in 2005, it's considered the absolute zenith of automotive engineering, and the stick against which all cars will now be measured.
The Veyron raised the bar of automotive performance to formerly unknown levels.
It's a technological tour de force. I mean, it's got 4 turbochargers, 1,000 horsepower, top speed of 255 plus.
Here's a car that is literally without compromise. Everywhere you look, this car was designed and defined by glorious, overwrought excess.
The Veyron is unlike any car that comes before it. And its existence rewrites the supercar space. A machine built to push the envelope and bend the laws of physics.
Some people would consider the Bugatti Veyron a supercar. Some might consider it a hypercar, which is sort of the next echelon up.
No car had been driven that fast before, and no car that big and that heavy with that much power had been able to do that sort of thing.
The Veyron represents a quantum leap forward for the possibilities in an automobile. It's built to achieve 4 primary targets: a 1,001 horsepower engine, a top speed greater than 400 kph, a 0 to 100 kph time less than 3 seconds, and it has to be luxurious enough to take to the opera. At the time, the combination of attributes seems ludicrous.
And the Veyron was different in that it was a luxury car. It was this big luxury grand tour. It wasn't trying to be a supercar in the way that a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Pagani was. It was trying to be this big, comfortable, crazy fast thing. It kind of redefined excess.
During the Veyron's harrowing development process, engineers burned the midnight oil while trying to build a super sports car for the road that's groundbreakingly fast, yet as easy to maneuver in a car park as a VW Golf. The result is a trailblazing machine that crushes the world's top speed mark and ushers in a new era of 7-figure super machines.
Their goal was top speed, and they met it. The things go over 250 miles an hour, and it's, the fastest car in the world.
The car on paper and in photos was so apart from anything else that was in that market. And of course, it commanded a price that was way above what anybody was accustomed to paying.
All that excess requires engineers rewrite the rulebook while fitting 10 radiators inside the machine and developing special tires that can only survive 50 minutes of the car's insane top speed.
I think Veyron was really, truly when hypercar became a thing we had to talk about, because supercars existed when the Veyron came out, but the Veyron was so much more. And it's like, well, what do we call this?
You have to love Bugatti for its audacity. This is a car company that exists to be extreme. Extreme in design, extreme in performance, extreme in speed. This is what they do. They've never shied away from being a car for people that can afford the most powerful, the fastest, the most expensive car out there.
The Veyron carries a long list of firsts and cutting-edge tech, yet its crowning jewel might well be the machine's W16 engine.
Back in '99, the W16 engine was certainly nothing short of revolutionary.
When the W16 engine debuts, the most powerful supercar engine features 627 horsepower. The W16 ups the ante by an additional 374 horsepower. That's nearly the power output of an entire other motor.
It effectively set the development of the past 20 years, the run for new superlatives, into motion.
The W16 is basically 2 W8s crammed together at the crankshaft with 4 turbochargers.
The original W16 makes a staggering 1,001 horsepower, yet Bugatti engineers never stopped refining their monster engine. Today, the same basic layout is capable of producing 1,850 horsepower, nearly double the original design. The W16 isn't the Veyron's only masterstroke of engineering. The machine also features a 7-speed dual-clutch direct-shift computer-controlled automatic transmission.
A double clutch transmission, or a dual clutch transmission, is a type of automatic transmission where a computer basically operates the clutch and the shifting for you.
A traditional manual clutch allows a driver to disengage the engine's crankshaft from the transmission so that a pilot can switch gears.
A normal car with a single clutch, the clutch has to release one gear and then grab the next one. With a dual clutch transmission, you have the one clutch on the one gear, then you have a second one ready to grab the other ones. So the transition is instantaneous.
A dual clutch transmission automates this process thanks to the addition of a second shaft. The magic of the dual clutch is that it can change from one gear to another lightning fast. Because while one gear is engaged, a computer pre-selects the next gear with the other clutch. It's immediately ready for engagement, which allows the unit to shift in mere milliseconds.
Dual clutch transmissions can shift faster than a conventional automatic, and more importantly, way faster than I can using a manual transmission.
You have your odd numbered gears operated by one clutch, and your even numbered gears are operated by the other. So when you shift, one clutch is releasing while the other one engages. So you get this perfectly quick shift.
The Bugatti Veyron is capable of astonishing performance with every press of the pedal. The machine's technology adds a whole new dimension to the automotive world. Yet as groundbreaking as the Veyron is, the evolution of the Hypercar is just getting started. The Supercar. It's a staple of bedroom posters. What many dream to drive, and few aspire to own.
Driving a supercar sharpens your focus in a way that an ordinary car doesn't. All of those layers are just peeled away. It just heightens your senses. The world passes by so rapidly. The engine is so loud. Your fingers are gripping the wheel and you can feel every edge of the car just talking to you. And it's just this overwhelming sensorial feeling.
Overwhelming sensations lie at the heart of the Pagani experience. And in 2012, the mark blasts to the front of the pack with the introduction of the Huayra.
Pagani is definitely the jet fighter of the hypercar world.
When it debuted in Geneva, it was, basically the star of the show. Everyone was surrounding it, everyone wanted to check out every single little tiny detail.
The Huayra blasts from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 3.2 seconds. It hits 200 kilometers per hour in just 9.8 seconds. A mere 25.8 seconds crosses the 300 kilometer per hour mark. Faster than a jumbo jet at takeoff.
There are expensive cars, and there are really expensive cars, and then there are cars that cost well over $1 million.
Named after a southern wind, the Huayra represents the culmination of 7 years of advanced engineering work and an entirely new take on the hypercar.
Pagani exists in a really rarefied air. Only the richest guys in the world who really love cars have one of these.
This isn't just a fast car, it's an experience.
While the Huayra is all kinds of good fun on the track, its ultimate claim to fame is the machine's active aerodynamic system.
So the idea of being active, meaning it can change all of the wings, is that when you're driving in a straight line, it's as slippery as possible for as high of a top speed as possible. In the corners, it'll sacrifice some of that speed for extra grip, which is what you need.
The machine features airplane-inspired flaps at each corner. The flaps move independently and alter the amount of downforce the Huayra experiences. The Huayra's active aero system helps keep it glued to the ground.
Downforce is using air to press down on the car. Lift is using air to pull up. We almost never want lift on a car because, of course, we don't want it to become airborne. But downforce is a good thing in the corners, but not when you're going straight ahead. Because to get downforce, you need to have aerodynamic drag, which means the car will be slower.
The active aero system helps stabilize the car at speed.
So the idea behind the ailerons is simple. If the flaps go up, they use the wind to push the car down.
In the corners, the flaps deploy to keep the car planted in the turn.
When you're going into corners, they can pop up to 20 just to push down on the car and help it turn.
During heavy braking, the system activates again, this time to generate additional braking force.
And under braking, they pop up to 40 degrees as kind of a parachute.
The Huayra's two-pronged approach reduces the coefficient of drag from 0.37 to 0.31, effectively shrinking the machine in size by 1/6.
As you can see the exact way that the air moves around and through and under and above a car, and you can design the car with that in mind. So you can actually put things like little tiny vent here that channels air a specific way through or above or around a car for maximum aerodynamics and maximum downforce.
While the Veyron and Huayra reshape combustion engine hypercars, a new type of powertrain tech emerges with sustainability at its core: the hybrid vehicle. The first mass-produced example is the Toyota Prius, a family car that combines an electric motor with a traditional petrol engine. What starts as a way to go green quickly becomes a way to go fast as well.
The science and technology and the engineering is a vital part of the supercar arms race. It is essentially companies throwing buckets of money at brand new engineers, brand new folks coming out of different aspects, everything from, plasma technology to composite technologies to things like electronics.
The continual march of technological advancement leads to a convergence of green dream machines. Somewhat improbably, Porsche, Ferrari, and McLaren all arrive at the same conclusion, that the next step in the supercar's story is hybrid tech.
The McLaren P1, the Porsche 918 Spyder, and the Ferrari LaFerrari all showed up at the same time, and they had all taken a hybrid powertrain, so an electric motor and batteries. Instead of using that for fuel economy, they used it to make even more power, so all of them were flirting with 1,000 horsepower.
You had kind of a trifecta of cars that represented the very best, the highest possible development of the kind of vehicle that defined a supercar.
You have this holy trinity of just mind-blowing performance that also adopts a more green approach to how that performance is achieved.
The three mega machines they create come to be known as the Holy Trinity. None of them are as powerful as the Bugatti Veyron, but it scarcely matters. Their relative lightweight and compact designs imbue them with a level of real-world performance that's in a different league.
It's a race to the top. It's essentially who can pack the most power into the smallest package that looks the best and that creates the most buzz.
This holy trinity of these halo cars that all came out, they all used hybrid technology. They all had electric assist, all for the sake of being super quick. They all looked insane. They were these great feats of engineering.
Three cars from three manufacturers, all released in 2013, come to define the hybrid hypercar.
It was as good as you could get. Engineers could not have helped but notice how interested the buying public was becoming in electric cars and gas-electric hybrids.
The three Holy Trinity machines all aim to be lightning quick. However, they all go about it differently.
That was the moment where, the supercar got electrified. That was when it suddenly became not just okay, but really cool to have hybrid technology in a supercar. The supercar that I know, it has to have a giant V12 engine. You just need big engine making big power, and it needs to be in the middle or the rear of the car, and that's it. But with these, it's like, well, we can use this smaller engine, and we can use this, electric assist to it, and we can get performance that's actually better than what those old supercars made. It just opens the world of supercars to this new segment of people that are more interested in technology.
Porsche focuses their development on merging two electric motors with a detuned version of their prototype Le Mans engine.
We've got the 918. Here we have a hybrid supercar with a huge stonking V8 and a tremendously powerful electric drivetrain working in harmony to just shatter all kinds of performance records.
The 918 gets 33 kilometers per liter. It can also rocket from 0 to 100 kph in just 2.2 seconds. Keep your foot pinned on the throttle, and you'll hit a mega 339-kilometer top speed.
I think that most automotive engineers are hedging their bets and saying, right now, electricity is probably the best way for us to go for all of our cars, or a car that burns hydrogen to create its own electricity, and that would be a fuel cell vehicle. Ultimately, we don't know where the future is going, but it looks like every probable direction is heading towards electric.
While the machine's performance is heady, it's the engineering solutions within the vehicle that change the game.
The 918 is super cool. It wasn't a full EV, it was a plug-in hybrid, but it was the first way of kind of showing people electric doesn't have to mean Prius, and hybrid doesn't have to mean slow. We can use hybrid EV technology to make a super fast, super cool car.
McLaren's P1 is radically different than the Porsche. It features one E-motor on the transaxle in conjunction with a twin-turbo 3.8-liter V8 that knocks out 727 horsepower.
Anytime you get into an electrically powered car, whether it's just a pure electric vehicle or a hybrid that's electric intense, it is immediate psychotic acceleration. It's unlike any gas engine.
The LaFerrari is the most powerful Ferrari ever made at the time of its introduction in 2013. It's propelled by a combination of a traditional 6.3-liter V12 petrol engine and an electric motor regulated by a Formula One-inspired Hypercar system.
The Ferrari LaFerrari was one of the first sort of hybrid supercars that we saw come to market. Made it a really interesting entry from a technological point of view.
The LaFerrari is a powerful testament to passionate high performance that paves the way forward for one of the most storied motoring marques. It's also very different than the Porsche, using its E-motor to only deliver power to the rear of the machine.
When Toyota builds a hybrid, they build it to do fuel economy. When Ferrari builds a hybrid, it's just extra power. The electric motor is just extra power for the V12.
Despite the fact that I absolutely hate the name, it sums it up really well where it's the Ferrari. That's what it is. It's the Ferrari. There's no other way to describe it.
Unlike the 918, the LaFerrari has no manual deployment mode for the hybrid system. The company designs the machine to be focused entirely on the act of driving and the experience, not fiddling about with little buttons.
The LaFerrari is a vision of what Ferrari feels the future is at the time the car was produced. Obviously, it has a hybrid component. Ferrari believes that electrification is coming. It's unavoidable. No modern supercar is considered modern without it. Anything that doesn't have an electrical component is old-fashioned. So once again, Ferrari is making a statement.
Upon its introduction, the LaFerrari becomes one of the most sought-after cars of all time. Today, pristine examples change hands for $4 million or more.
The LaFerrari really kind of changed that game, and it was like the sort of automotive world went, Oh, okay. So we're actually committing to this idea of getting more power, but not necessarily from petrol engines, more from sort of a hybrid setup, or eventually perhaps even totally electric.
All three Holy Trinity machines use hybrid technology to advance the automotive landscape with performance that could only be imagined in prior decades.
This is what the future of speed looks like. With modern materials and 20 years of development in computational fluid dynamics and all the tools that they have today, they're able to finesse these designs to also make them appealing to the eye in a way that classical cars are, with classical curves and forms that are universally appealing.
The Holy Trinity make technological waves in the supercar space. However, hybrid science has been around far longer than most people realize. The world's first hybrid automobile is the Lohner Porsche from 1901, designed by none other than Ferdinand Porsche.
The Lohner Porsche set the precedent for a modern hybrid car at the beginning of the 20th century, which is just kind of unheard of, especially with battery technology being what it was.
In 2018, Swedish supercar constructor Koenigsegg ups the ante and debuts the Agera. The turbocharged 5-liter V8 harnesses 1,341 horsepower to rocket to an absolutely insane 284 miles per hour top speed.
They experimented with several sections of the car to try and compromise between high-speed stability and keeping the car on the ground and not pushing it down on the ground too much. This was pioneering work at that time on cars of this speed.
Nicknamed Thor, this Agera is the second of two special final edition models. In addition to the machine's active aerodynamic system, Thor features a Le Mans-styled central shark fin to help cut through the air and aid stability at lightning-fast speeds.
The price barrier to entry is so high that a majority of people in the world can't actually afford it.
While not everyone can afford a Koenigsegg, the company's relentless focus on weight reduction, paired with Thor's GPS-actuated suspension system and active aerodynamics, offer a technologically driven path forward for other, more ordinary machines. Supercars are explosive machines that captivate drivers and car fans alike. Vehicles that bravely chase the future while pushing ordinary automobiles to new heights.
There's a magic to it. The level of science and technology that has to go into it is just astronomical.
There are companies that put more of an emphasis on their supercars than others, and they're the ones that actually spend the time and the money and the effort to go out and develop new technologies and new materials and new things to make it better.
During the first few decades of the new millennium, the auto industry rapidly morphs. Shifting global economics and tightening environmental regulations force cars of all kinds to modernize. The push for change leads to a golden era for horsepower, where even basic machines suddenly feature nearly unthinkable power.
The horsepower gains of cars have ebbed and flowed and peaked and valleyed over the years. And why we're at a place like today where a base V8 that has 500 horsepower, like, that's insane.
Insanity is fully on display in 2010 when Mercedes-Benz's in-house tuning shop, AMG, introduces the SLS.
And the SLS was the supercar in the truest sense. It was really expensive. It only had 2 seats. It had crazy doors that opened up. It looked like nothing else. It really was a showstopper.
The spiritual successor to the vaunted 300 SL Gullwing, the SLS combines retro pastiche with a brutal 563 horsepower V8 engine. The machine represents AMG's first car designed and built in-house. It's a small change that opens the door for other car constructors' in-house tuning divisions to build their own hot rods as well.
It's an interesting thing with SLS. It was such a fantastic looking car, and it did so much with the way it had the curb appeal. I mean, when you saw those doors open, it was an amazing callback to the 300 SL Gullwing.
While the SLS is directly aimed at the higher end of the sports car market, in 2013, fabled Italian automaker Alfa Romeo decides to rekindle the magic at the other end of the equation. They introduced the 4C, the first truly affordable carbon fiber tub-based sporting machine.
It's an old school kind of car, right? It's small and it's light. It's got all this personality.
The 4C goes 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in just 4.2 seconds. Weighs under 1,000 kilograms thanks to a hypercar-style carbon fiber monocoque, and seduces the eye with outrageous Italian flair.
It's very clear from the second you get in a 4C, this is not a car that's trying to be all things to all people.
This is absolutely a less is more car, because the less weight you have to carry around, the faster you can go, the quicker you can corner, the more nimble the car is.
The 4C might be small and quick, yet its influence is enormous. The machine turns every moment into a track day, and every commute into a soul-stirring drive, yet costs no more than an average sedan.
It's, hey, I'm just as cool as a Ferrari. I'm just as outrageous, but I'm a third of the price.
You can save your money and get a beautiful Italian car made of exotic space-age materials that goes incredibly quickly around a racetrack and turns heads everywhere you go.
The 4C leverages supercar tech that was once solely reserved for mega machines, but is now readily available in more everyday autos.
It absolutely is an automotive trickle-down. You know, Ferrari has been developing carbon fiber for a long time, but those cars start at $250,000.
The fact that you can get it in a car that costs less than 100 grand is nothing short of a miracle.
Beautiful design is a hallmark of all great sports cars, and by the 2010s, a refreshed take on British sporting arrives in the form of the Jaguar F-Type.
I think what's so surprising about the F-Type is how brash it is.
Even the modern F-Type is really quite striking. Whether you like it or not, it's just a unique looking piece of automotive work.
F-Type, like, this is the big, muscular Jag sports car that everyone wants, and it pops and crackles when you rev it, and it's got a huge V8, and it looks like this.
The F-Type highlights the continued push in automotive advancement, leveraging a supercharged V8 that can produce 575 horsepower and hit a max velocity of 299 kilometers per hour. Supercar-like numbers in a high-end sports car.
Do you have any preconceived notions of a Jaguar being soft or pudgy or sort of humdrum to drive? You can throw those all out the window when it comes to the F-Type. When you get it out onto a racetrack or onto a twisty canyon road, it is absolutely engaging.
The F-Type looks amazing, and it sounds amazing. Doesn't have driver assistance technologies, and there's nowhere to put a suitcase. But like, man, like, it looks awesome. It looks so cool. Like, if you buy a 911, great, but why wouldn't you want an F-Type?
Four years later, in 2018, another mega machine is born mere kilometers away, the Aston Martin DBS Superleggera.
Aston's all about sports cars. It's all about luxury, grand touring, high-performance cars. You have things with big V12 engines in the front, and then rear-wheel drive, and then this just big luxury car interior.
While some supercars aim to be technical wonderkins, the DBS stands apart as the ultimate Aston and a new take on the mega muscle car aesthetic.
It's got a huge V12, it's loud, it's beautiful, it's expensive.
In an era of all-wheel drive supercars, the DBS is a throwback rear-wheel speed demon.
It's 715 horsepower, 900 newton meters of torque. It's clothed in carbon fiber, lightweight body structures. It has an amazing sound, a bi-turbo V12.
The imposing horsepower and high performance of the Aston Martin DBS is eclipsed a few countries away in Italy by the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ.
It's getting harder and harder because there is a physics limit on the power that you can give to the car.
The Aventador SVJ is a notable entry in the history of the supercar because it's born a little over a half a century after Lamborghini ushers in the high-performance sports car era with the Miura. It's perhaps the best example of an internal combustion Lambo, and also might be the last.
The romance is connected to the history, to the DNA of the engine. Frequencies, sound, vibration, these are all emotion. So we are at the high scale of the end. Therefore, that's why it's so special and so unique.
For the past half a century, the supercar elevates high-performance motoring and unleashes new tech on the road-going public. Yet with the dawn of the 2020s clearly in sight, what comes next might be even more profound. Supercars are works of beauty, engineering tour de forces, and machines built to battle science at every turn.
The thing that is so marvelous about supercars is this amazing combination of just absolute beauty and absolute power. And the fact that those two things can coexist on that level is what makes a supercar a supercar.
As the dawn of the 2020s approaches, it's clear that for the supercar and hypercar genres to survive, they must adapt or they'll perish.
We're coming to the end of the internal combustion engine period. So at some point, all of these different layouts are going to have to start dying off.
With the internal combustion era coming to a close, in 2016, Bugatti bends the laws of physics one last time and creates the ultimate petrol-based hypercar, the Bugatti Chiron.
You have this car that comes out, the Chiron. It's the Veyron on steroids. It's the Veyron with everything enhanced. Bugatti didn't need to make a car like everyone else did. Bugatti needed to make a new Bugatti.
The Bugatti Chiron is beautiful. Design-wise, they're absolutely extraordinary. They're exquisite.
It achieves its performance because of its excess.
The Chiron is the fastest, most powerful, and most expensive hypercar ever made, and the ultimate swan song for petrol-powered cars. A machine that bends heritage and stunning looks in one deadly high-performance package.
Really, what's most shocking about it is how fast it accelerates from like 100 to 200 miles an hour. It's astonishing.
It is perhaps the most ambitious and far-reaching we will probably get with an engine of that size, of that magnitude, of that power, the best representation of what's possible with an internal combustion engine.
When it debuts, the Chiron produces 1,500 horsepower, nearly 1,200 foot-pounds of torque, and costs a staggering $2.6 million.
The Bugatti Chiron is the world's first hypersports car to bring 1,500 horsepower onto the road with a W16 engine.
It speaks volumes to automotive engineering and automotive design and performance these days.
Technology makes the car an incredible statement for speed. The Chiron is built on a carbon fiber body tub, waves of microprocessors to manage all 16 cylinders and 4 turbochargers, and offers every conceivable driver aid available.
It's going to represent the last of the big internal combustion supercars.
As the last greatest vehicle of its type and a great swan song for the era.
Most evocatively, the Chiron delivers capabilities head-shakingly beyond what virtually any driver who hasn't raced Le Mans is capable of controlling at the limits. It's the very first hypercar to crack the 300-mile-per-hour barrier.
When you think about 300 miles an hour, it is largely inconceivable to the general public, but the physical stresses that your body is under are astronomical.
Creating a car that can drive 300 miles per hour is no easy feat. Aerodynamically, the downforce, lift, and drag all increase exponentially. At max velocity, the tires spin 68 times per second and have to withstand 7 tons of force trying to rip them apart.
We're never going to have another internal combustion car that's going to top what Bugatti has achieved with the Chiron.
The Chiron goes down in history as a pioneer that ventures into the unknown, thanks to the incredible engineering underlying the machine.
It is comparable with Greek mythology, yes. It is the end of the internal combustion engine.
The 300-mile-per-hour mark has loomed in humanity's automotive consciousness for over 100 years. The immediate question is, what comes next?
The piston engine would start reaching its point of diminishing returns. There's nothing that gets you around a track like an electric motor, initially supplemented by a piston engine and then eventually completely doing away with the piston engine.
The art of aerodynamics and hybrid tech takes a massive leap forward 2 years later, in 2018, when McLaren drops the speed tail. Inspired by the company's seminal F1 from the 1990s, the Speedtail is the marque's fastest and most efficient machine ever created, with a top speed of 250 miles per hour.
Right now, we're fighting for 0.1% for performance. If you can move body parts around to take advantage of air force, well, then you've got a handling advantage over someone else.
As manufacturers wring increasingly marginal gains out of engine tech, aerodynamics offer the greatest potential for significant speed increases. The Speedtail's importance lies in its unique aerodynamic innovations, including static carbon fiber wheel covers, cameras in the place of side mirrors, and hydraulic elements that bend the carbon fiber bodywork at the rear of the car to create a seamless rear wing.
The aerodynamics are so incredibly important because everything is the result of downforce and aero, and the lowest amount of drag that a car can have when it cuts through the air means it can go faster with less power.
The Speedtail is the latest in a long line of super machines that seek to make their mark not with more power, but rather better aero. Most supercars these days are envisioned from the start as an inverted wing, where the fastest air moves over a low, sleek body, and the slower air moves underneath the machine. This vacuum helps suck the car into the road.
Aerodynamics are really important. When you get into the 600, 700, 800 horsepower range, the top speeds of these cars are so high that if you don't get the aero right, they could be really dangerous.
The biggest limiting factor for a supercar's top speed is what is known as vortex wash. This is when a car is traveling at speed and fast air passes over the body before curling back over the rear end. The disturbed flow is known as dirty air, and it upsets the downforce on the machine.
So there's a delicate balance between making the car slippery enough so that it goes to the air at high speeds and making it not take off.
It's tempting to think that aerodynamics is a mature science. However, advancements in computer modeling are offering new solutions that bring supercar builders one step closer to reaching the holy grail of maximum downforce with minimal drag. As the automotive industry enters the 2020s, it's clear that the age of the fully electric supercar has finally dawned. Introduced at the 2016 Geneva Auto Show, the all-electric Rimac Concept 1 puts major automakers on notice that change is coming in the supercar space. Roundly considered the world's first fully electric hypercar, the Concept 1 goes green in a major way, thanks to its mega 1,224 horsepower powertrain. The machine relies on advanced all-wheel torque vectoring, which uses the car's data to adjust the power output at each wheel independently and in real time as it's driven, giving the machine considerably better grip than most conventional cars.
They're automobiles that have maximum torque right out of the gate.
Once an anomaly, supercars powered by electricity are redefining what it means to be extraordinary in the modern age.
Supercars have reached a zenith of what's physically capable. And I think the evolution is how to take that performance and adapt in that same fashion, or else they're going to hit a ceiling and in doing so become irrelevant.
In the past 2 years, dozens of high-performance vehicles have emerged on the scene. Yet powertrains with 1,000 plus horsepower and top speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour are now commonplace. The question is, how to bravely go even faster.
The supercar era is going to have to adapt and evolve. You have the best and brightest minds creating the most impressive feat of engineering with no room to grow because it's so singularly focused.
Electric cars have a lot of benefits in terms of performance. Got low center of gravity, tons of instant torque from an electric motor, and if you combine that with chassis engineering, steering, all that stuff, you can really show people that EVs can be performance cars.
An electric car is the automotive equivalent of speaking softly but carrying a big stick, because it's not very loud, it's not raucous. It's a car that's quiet and is quietly sophisticated, but that doesn't mean it can't pass you going 250 miles an hour on the Autobahn.
Supercars live in a realm of fantasy. While they may not be practical, they're more than just performance statistics. They're aspirational objects, engineering masterpieces, and mechanical art. Qualities that hopefully translate in an EV world.
Electrification is good, and it's good for performance, and it's good for supercar development. And it's going to be great because companies are investing a lot of money into the development of electrification.
As platforms for first-time engineering audacity that can later be applied to more affordable vehicles, supercars offer all of us a bold potential look into the future of the automobile.
The powertrain is becoming less significant in the electrification era. Well, if you can buy the batteries and the motor off the shelf from any car company or any company willing to sell you the stuff, then the freedom to create the car becomes a lot greater.
Once people realize that electric means torque and torque means power, and if we can put electricity into this car, it's going to just get a crap load more torque. That's a good thing, right?
With electrification, we will see many more startup car companies producing high-end electric cars with the hope of maybe becoming a Tesla and eventually building affordable cars, but they start at the high end.
Special cars devoted to high performance have existed since the dawn of the motorized age. In the 1920s and 30s, wealthy thrill seekers pushed Bentleys and Bugattis to the edge. In the 1950s, speed seekers climbed behind the wheel of a Jaguar E-Type or Mercedes-Benz 300 SL to topple records. And in the 1960s, the Lamborghini Miura sprang into existence, and with it, gave birth to the supercar genre. Today's hypercars and their all-electric brethren are stretching the boundaries of the automotive universe one step at a time, bending the laws of physics as they go, and helping to create a brave new high-performance world for all of us.